And now their quest is to fight for wildlife, to save all species we may forget. Heroes of nature, heroes of nature, heroes of nature. Save them all. In every corner of the world, they hear the frightened call of animals in need of help. In saving them, they'll save us all. Heroes of nature, heroes of nature, heroes of nature. Save them all.
Sudah.
Come on.
Biruté Galdikas is the first woman in the world to have devoted her life to protecting orangutans. She set up her foundation on the island of Borneo. Here, for over 31 years, she has been the guardian angel of this disconcerting cousin of man the Indonesians call the man of the woods.
The first time I met with a wild orangutan, it was my second day here, my first full day here. We went down to the fork of the two rivers, and I suddenly spotted an orangutan, female and her juvenile offspring. And they started fleeing through the swamps, of course, up in the trees. I wanted to follow them, but the people in the boat who were with me said, no, it's too deep, it's too difficult, and we're too far away from where we're staying. So I was able to watch that female for maybe 1.5 minutes. I still have the notes from that encounter.
Orangutans are discreet and solitary. Before Biruté Galdikas started to study them in 1971, they were the least researched of all the monkeys. Observing this primate in this tropical rainforest is like going on a commando training course. The relative humidity is 90%, the heat is stifling, and the rain never stops falling. It falls so violently that it stops spiders and crocodiles in their tracks. Formerly inaccessible, the kingdom of the orangutans is now being destroyed for its rare trees. Their habitat is threatened by deforestation and fires. Victims of poachers and trappers supplying illegal black markets, the numbers of this big monkey dwindle day by day. In fact, fewer than 20,000 of them have survived. Biruté Galdikas founded Camp Leakey in the Tanjung Puting National Park in southern Borneo. It was given its name in homage to the famous anthropologist Louis Leakey. The camp is a base for students in primatology. Students have two tasks: to make their observations and to help to extend the facilities. Princess, the camp mascot, takes a great interest in everything going on.
Princess came in the late 1970s. And she is a very unique orangutan because she was taught sign language by Dr. Gary Shapiro. She learned about 30 different signs that she combined, shortened sentences and short phrases. And she is probably one of the most intelligent orangutans on this planet in human terms. Princess, apa mau? Apa mau? Mau apa? That's a very poor sign for food, or more. I can't even tell what sign it was. I think it was more. the wild-born ex-captives encounter a different set of circumstances and a different set of materials than the wild ones do. So there's extensive tool use here in this ex-captive situation, because the orangutans are not actually in the forest here, they're just forest edge, so they'll use cups, they'll use spoons, they'll use sticks, they'll use shovels, they will even use saws. There's a lot of either imitation going on or stimulus enhancement going on. So when an orangutan sees a human being doing something, and there seems to be a commotion, the orangutan will be attracted to the commotion and will sometimes imitate what the human being is doing. When these orangutans go back to the wild, it's really quite amazing, because if you didn't know they were wild-born ex-captives, you'd never be able to tell, because they drop all that tool using. They leave it behind. So the tool using here is specific to the situation, specific to the locale. The princess is just incredible. She paints, she scrubs floors, she uses dugout canoes, and all this is observational learning.
Thanks to their adaptability, most monkeys have no problem in going back to the jungle. But the species is threatened to the point of extinction, and for Biruté Galdikas, the fight for their survival is constant. Biruté fights her war on several fronts. In a country in which negotiation etiquette is very different from the West, she has adopted the Indonesian way of life. Her lobbying campaign targeting governmental authorities is becoming effective. She is fully accepted in the country because she has totally adopted Indonesian culture. A quantum jump she found very interesting and often amusing. Little by little, she has become a local, but Biruté Galdikas prefers her field work to her administrative duties. Her intelligence network in Borneo tells her that several baby orangutans have been trapped and are being offered for sale. The professor, as everyone calls her here, decides to rescue them. She asks the vice governor of Borneo for help and sets off on the mission backed by crack troops from the forest warden's division. Great, when are we leaving? We're waiting for the guns. Otherwise, we're ready. Yes, there are procedures. We don't get guns like that. Okay, we'll wait. It is rare for Biruté Galdikas Foundation to get government support to this extent. Usually, the professor has to act alone, but today the situation is sensitive. The orangutans are being held prisoner in Tumbang Samba, a village of headhunters who recently reverted to these age-old and rather frightening rites. The road to reach the baby monkeys is long, on the only trail that crosses the country from east to west. A few years ago, this was impenetrable jungle, but in 1997, the fires that raged unchecked following the droughts caused by El Niño destroyed everything. Kasongan is a fishing village on the riverbanks. The only place from which the heart of the forest can be reached and the gateway to the scary country of the Dayaks, the largest ethnic group in Borneo. The villagers are discreet, only the children find us of interest. They stare at the cage we will use to bring back the baby orangutans. The operation intrigues them, but nobody dares to ask questions. 18-year-old Sanul is Biruté Galdikas' nephew. He never leaves her side. The journey by speedboat to Tumbang Samba takes 4 hours. Biruté Galdikas' top priority is to prevent smuggling. She has taken risks every day of the 31 years she has devoted to orangutans.
The orangutans were very mysterious, very enigmatic. Nobody really knew very much about them. That is when I decided that I would study them in the wild.
Biruté Galdikas saw her first orangutans in Toronto Zoo when she was 7. That was when she decided to become a primatologist. At Los Angeles University, she met Louis Leakey, who had fascinated her for many years already. The famous anthropologist is the guru behind Diane Fossey's passion for gorillas and Jane Goodall's for chimpanzees. Convinced of her dedication, Leakey financed her first expedition to Borneo. She was 25 when she left the comfort of life in Canada. That is how she became Leakey's third angel, as many people call her. With her doctorate in her pocket, she published her findings and became world famous, hitting the front covers of magazines and winning international recognition. She had a son by her first husband, and in 1981 she married Dayak farmer Pak Bohap and had 2 more children. It is difficult to be more Indonesian than that. 4 hours traveling bring the forest rangers and Biruté's team to one of the most remote places in the country. The town of Tumbang Samba is built on piles to protect it from the whims of the river. Hunters killed the mother orangutans to capture their babies in the forest surrounding the village. They have to be found before nightfall. There are only 5 hours daylight left. Has he gone to Mangu? Is your grass in uniform? No, he's dressed as a civilian. The policemen are not here to protect the orangutans or the priceless natural reserves in the rainforest. Quite the reverse, in fact. Their mission is to protect the large forestry companies who are destroying the irreplaceable forests in total legality. The first part of the rescue sortie is to locate the orangutans. 2 rangers are detailed to obtain this precious information. The wait seems endless. Finally, a clue.
You can't confiscate an orangutan or any animal without the owner being present, otherwise it's considered impolite. So they tell me that the owner is about 1 kilometer away, and they've just sent somebody with a bicycle to go get him. I think the police officer is going there too. Where are they going? It's waiting and waiting. That's the local disease. Waiting. Tunggu.
The owner of the orangutan is found. The rangers' negotiations have been successful and Biruté can join them. He's called Momo. So they've agreed to hand him over. No door, a cage made from boards. How long has the monkey been locked up in there? He has lost his mother, killed in front of him. It's difficult to even slide food into his cage. Starved, the orangutan seems to be in shock. This is probably the first time he's been let out of the cage since he was captured. For Biruté and her team, speed is vital. They're not welcome, and catching the orangutan is not as simple as it looks. She gives the baby to Sanul. Take it to the boat. I'll go and get the other one. Biruté is told that there is a second, even younger orangutan in the same village. Whenever a monkey is rescued, she takes photographs for the files of her new boarders. The file is very detailed with everything from the conditions of detention to the precise circumstances of the rescue.
Come on.
Why are you taking Momo? Doesn't he live here? No, his house is in the forest where he grew up.
Kalau rumahnya bukan di sini, rumahnya di hutan.
Prepare the papers. Let's go.
The principal reason for the disappearance of orangutans is the destruction of the tropical rainforest, which is the orangutan's only home. And the tragedy of orangutan existence is that the forests where they live contain very valuable timber, which is being cut and sold. And the tragedy of orangutan existence is the forests where they live are now being demolished to establish palm oil plantations and timber estates. Without the forests, orangutans cannot survive in the wild. It's impossible.
Orangutan monkeys live in trees and spend 80% of their time in the leafy tops. Their prehensile back legs and long muscular arms are built for climbing. These big anthropoids stand upright, but their feet are not designed for walking, so they seldom go down to the ground. Their territories are defined by their food supply and fruit trees in particular. 3 trees can be enough, but sometimes they pick over 50 in one day. In fact, they spend more than 60% of their time feeding. For this acrobat, the smallest bud is a delicacy savored without letting go of the branches. Basically vegetarian, they add protein to their diet by sucking up termites from rotting tree trunks. Male orangutans reign over big territories and tolerate no other males in their domain. Their solitary way of life means the species has to live in a vast jungle. Of all the primates, orangutans are the only ones not to live in packs. They repel undesired guests by the quick kiss, which expresses their displeasure. Males start to mate when they are 12 years old and become fully adult around 18. They only seek the company of females to perpetuate the species. Females prefer adult males with big cheeks, so the youngsters spend their time building up their charms. Unlike other monkeys, the orangutans generally mate face to face. While the most virile get on with the job, the others spend time prettying themselves up. Biruté's third rescue mission is very different from her adventures in the Dayak village. Now we are in a town. Here, as in many places in Indonesia, owning a ginger monkey is a huge status symbol, a luxury item. The wild orangutan becomes a pet, locked up in a cage or chained to a post. Where did you find him? We've had him since he was a baby. Yes, but where? I don't remember. While waiting for the owner, negotiations begin with the girl who looks after it.
I checked this morning to make sure that the orangutan was still alive, and he was.
I'm sorry.
So they're now going to begin the negotiations, and the outcome is right now uncertain.
Buang sampah juga ngambil.
In Indonesia, you must never show anger, and a friendly-looking Indonesian may be your worst enemy. The head of the rangers knows that you can't trust the smile on the face of the monkey's owner. This is a protected species and you're breaking the law, so please give us this orangutan. I really look after it. I've cared for it since it was born. Will you be able to look after it? The professor is a specialist in orangutans. Hello, I'm Professor Biruté. We are in Pasir Panjang. In the professor's center, there is a private doctor for the orangutans, 3 vets, nurses, a clinic. So don't hesitate a minute. Yes, but he follows me around. He's used to me. Why not visit the center? Come on, we can go now. Can I come? We'll just have to give me a paper that proves I've given... Yes, that's no problem. If you give me the paper, well, then I agree.
The first 2 orangutans that we confiscated were probably kept for sale. The people were not horrified, were not really all that upset about our taking them. But the 3rd confiscation, the orangutan had been a family pet for years. The daughter of the household was very fond of him. She was crying. Also, the father, before his retirement, had been a government official. So actually that's one reason why he didn't argue about the orangutan being taken away from him, because he understood that what he was doing was actually against the law.
Don't forget the blanket. Yes, because he sleeps with a blanket and a mosquito net. Of course he'll be well treated. Oh no, orangutans don't cry. Be good and be intelligent. Thank you. What's your name? Rini. Rini, I've got your address and I'll write to you and tell you how he's doing, okay? In 2 days, Biruté has saved 3 monkeys from captivity. But the traffic for rare animals is very well organized and other orangutans will not be so lucky. All the animals sold in Burrito Market are rare species protected by international conventions. Large amounts of money change hands for wild animals, and like drugs and arms, this awful trade is difficult to stop. You won't see orangutans on display. This market is only window dressing and most of the business is done far away from prying eyes. Stop filming, it stresses the birds. Over 1,000 orangutans disappear each year. For Biruté, this is when the delicate part begins, the critical phase in the success of the operation. She has to get back to the private care center she founded as fast as possible. There, for many years, she's been using a method to teach these former prisoners the gestures they will need when they go back to living in the wilds. The team drives back to southwest Borneo with the orangutans on their laps. The second one is in Sanul's arms. There's a baby and one a bit older. Let's go and see the vet. They're not afraid anymore. They're feeling better. The bigger one is a bit lazy and is crying. The baby is more confident and plays with the cushions. The third one got a lot of attention from his owner. The first step is a clinical examination of the 3 new orphans. To relieve the stress of captivity as quickly as possible, Biruté's team springs into action at once. Surprisingly, despite their traumatic experiences, none of the orangutans behave aggressively. These primates are in fact basically nice. The vets run gentle tests on the new boarders. The animals' weight and teeth are examined to determine their ages accurately. Hair and blood samples are taken to get a DNA print identifying each orangutan specifically. The vets note the damage due to maltreatment. At the end of the examination, the team inserts a chip under the skin of each animal so it can be tracked when returned to the forest.
He's a big boy.
Professor Biruté gives the vets special training in the psychological aspects of their relationships with these battered animals.
This is for new arrivals. We quarantine them for 3 weeks while we check their blood, deworm them, and make sure that they are healthy before they are put into the general population of orangutans here at this care center.
In the orphanage forest, they learn how to move around without hurting themselves and to regain confidence in their gestures. Every day, Biruté's assistants lead groups of orangutans into the forest and bring them back to the center before dusk. When the vets are sure an ex-prisoner can feed itself and cope with the social aspects, it leaves the care center to be released in the heart of the jungle from Camp Leakey in the National Wildlife Park. For Biruté, the priority candidates for freedom are the mothers with babies born in captivity.
In the wild, an orangutan juvenile or an orangutan immature does not leave his or her mother until he is at least 7 or 8 years of age. The orangutan infant is literally attached to the mother's body. They have a very intense emotional dependence on the mother. Suddenly the mother disappears and the orangutan infant is left on his or her own in a small cage or, attached by a chain. So they suffer enormous emotional damage.
Clinging tightly to their mother's fur until they are 4 years old, babies learn the gestures essential to survival and discover the vegetation and fruit essential for their food. Skilled botanists, baby orangutans can recognize over 400 different species of plants. Babies grab food from their mother's hands or mouths. Some scientists claim that these monkeys develop their placid, kindly natures because of the exclusive attention their mothers lavish on them up to the age of 8. Tree climbing is not the easiest of sports, and choosing a liana which will support your weight is a very special skill. This gymnastic exercise is essential to avoid falls, especially with your mouth full of food. Orangutan mothers suckle their young until they are 3 years old. Here, an older child, 9 or 10 years old, jealous of the newborn, tries to get back to the breast. Its mother systematically pushes it away, but it keeps very close to her before learning to live alone. Although 40 meters above the ground, she encourages the baby to act on its own. Gradually, it gains self-confidence and learns independence, but always alert to the smallest danger, she constantly protects it. The orphans are brought up using a method devised by Biruté Galdikas. Each baby is entrusted to a designated foster mother. When the baby cries, the surrogate mother comes running. These Dayak women bottle feed them and give them a lot of affection. Young American primatologist Rebecca is a volunteer. The children's nurses hardly speak. Their protégés do not have vocal cords, and the guardians seem to lose the gift of speech themselves. Sanul spends much of his time at the nursery. His job is to stimulate the older children and develop their play skills.
Saya dari Borneo.
I was born in Borneo.
Ya, saya lahir di Pasir Panjang.
Yes, I've always lived here in Pasir Panjang.
Orang-utan.
Since I was little, I have lived with the orangutans.
Dengan orang-utan saya senang.
I'm an only child and I grew up with them.
Ya, banyak keluarga.
All my family has worked here for a long time.
Sini. Di care center, ya.
The professor gives work to the women.
Ya, mungkin sudah lama gitu.
They are the foster mothers of the baby monkeys.
Dekat sekali ya orang-utan ya. Seperti kakak gitu.
These orangutans are my brothers and sisters.
Sekali lucu dari mereka ya.
Saudara, mau ambil saudara
Ya,
Anda?
saya tidak punya saudara.
Goodbye,
Mungkin
I'm off
bisa
to play with my
saudara
brothers.
saya.
Oke, silakan.
Oke.
Yeah, good boy. Yeah. Some more? Okay.
The former prisoners often prefer to stay around humans rather than the other orangutans. But Sanul encourages them to play together. These small brawls are a social ritual in the life of the primate and an essential part of their apprenticeship to life. As their muscles have atrophied in captivity, some orangutans can no longer climb trees. To overcome their fear of falling, Sanul stimulates them with games. The mission of everyone at the center is to teach the youngsters everything their mothers would have taught them. The top priority is to ensure that they become attached to the trees that feed them. Ah, here they are. Biruté has developed a unique relationship with orangutans based on confidence, and many of the monkeys she has rescued from captivity seem to express their gratitude. When she began to study orangutans in 1971, very little was known about the animals. Through thousands of hours of observation, notes, patience, and determination, Biruté was able to discover several enigmatic aspects about the life of this anthropoid. She studied the ecosystem and explores the biodiversity of the primates universe. She demonstrated the fact that this large monkey uses tools and that orangutan mothers are the only animals which invariably wait 8 years before having another baby. One of the discoveries she made was that orangutans build a nest twice a day, one for their afternoon nap and another to spend the night. They almost never reuse an old nest. Biruté found out that omnivorous wild boars are the scourge of baby monkeys. Boars will eat them if they wander away from their mothers. She also demonstrated their skills in sheltering from the rain. Whereas all other animals look for somewhere to protect themselves, orangutans make waterproof bowers. It will not be long before the 2 orangutans at the care center will be able to join the other former captives in the wilds here in Camp Leakey. For Biruté, it is important to find out which animals are in the vicinity. The Dayak assistants give the yell, which means that fruit is being put out for the taking. This immediately attracts several orangutans on the lookout for vitamins. As many fruit trees have disappeared, this addition to their food supply is currently essential.
Oh, I don't even know who that is. Take a look.
This large male compels the female to submit. Everything about his attitude is provocative, and the teenagers who can read his body language stay well away. During the mating season, dominant males avoid each other or fight. They have a disc-shaped growth in their cheeks. This disc is a sign of maturity caused by a rise in a hormone level, which also leads to the large monkey's aggressive behavior to other males. Orangutans and men are the only mammals that have hair, a beard which grows at the end of adolescence. Weighing between 80 and 150 kilos, the big males are too heavy to saunter through the trees. Despite the anatomy of their feet, they have no other choice than to walk on the ground. Their experience helps them to disappear into the jungle easily. The presence of this mysterious large male is a good sign, as it means that the 2 orangutans at the care center can be released. Go and get the cage. Siswi is the mother of Samson. The previous day, Biruté Galdikas came to talk to them about returning to the wilds. They seem to have understood her and are happy to enter the carrying cage.
She was here because she almost died. She had a hole in her small intestine that was this big. Had she been a human, she would have died. I mean, absolutely no question. As it was, the veterinarian who sewed her up said that she had less than a 10% chance of survival. But the reason that she survived is for her infant Samson, because Samson was then quite small, small juvenile. So look at him now. I mean, look at him now. Oh my gosh. Samson, no. You know you're going home. Yeah, he told me last night. No, Samson, no. This is the first baby that was born at Camp Leakey, the offspring of a wild-born ex-captive and a wild father. So she's a very special person to us, very special. She's beloved by many people this way. It's time for her to go home. She seems totally well. She's been here a long time, and it's time for her to go back to the forest.
Yes, I'm going too. We're all going. Yes, of course we are. Unexpected events at Camp Leakey prevent the release of Samson and Siswi. They're in for a surprise. I'm going to fight to the finish. I'm ready. They don't know who I am.
Mungkin Ibu tahu salah satu.
Do you know the name of the agitators?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, there's Mr. Kumis, Mr. Itas.
Yeah, provocateur.
Those are the agitators who invaded the camp. Sanul is worried. Pagbohab, Biruté's husband, prepares his machete. They just don't understand. We're not problems for their people, we protect them. The national park called us, they're desperate. Have they made a decision? They asked us to help because they have no hope. A Malayus tribe has just been expelled from its village and lands by the Indonesian government. As the promised financial compensation has not been paid, the angry tribesmen have invaded the camp of Biruté. They want to take her land. If she can't make them leave, Camp Leakey will be lost.
We're going to defend Camp Leakey, because if they expel our assistants, then that's it. I mean, then they will come into the study area and work illegally.
What is the reason why they decided to do this now?
Our police patrols and community blockades prevent them from logging and gold mining. And so they're getting frustrated because we've had them now for 2 years. And so this is a hardcore group of malcontents. What's happening now is that everybody's stalling, except us.
In Indonesia, your personal status depends on the number of people you support. Although Biruté Galdikas' diplomatic talents are well known, the situation is too complicated to take risks. This is why she has summoned the 50 Dayaks she employs. They are very angry too, and unusually have stopped smiling. It's here. Okay, everybody on board. To defend the camp, they are standing around Biruté. Jackie, her second in command, Pagbohab, her husband, even the youngster Sanul. The score of requisition boats race through the mangrove mazes. After 5 hours on a speedboat, they reach the place where the negotiations will be held. Tanjung Puting National Park is deep in the jungle, not far from Camp Leakey. Is everyone here? We're all going to the National Park HQ. It's always the same with government money. 1 million rupees takes as long as 500 rupees to get. They have more rights than us because they make the rules, so we have to be patient. And if you want to add to our problems, use your other friends. We don't care. We'll do what we need to. Mr. Jackie, please keep calm. I understand the people who were expelled by the government. There are 42 houses and a mosque. Mr. Bohap, you know the village. We want to get our land back and take over the professor's camp. We have worked here for 31 years and we will not permit our people to be expelled and threatened. Our rights. You speak about your rights. I'm talking about the right of our staff to work. They are all local people. We are not responsible for your problems. I paid a lot of money for this land. We'll all have to sit down and find a way to solve this problem. Perhaps we could speak up for you, to represent you, and speak directly with the members of parliament. After 3 hours of discussions, Biruté saves Camp Leakey. This astonishing woman knows better than anyone how to act with the natives of Borneo. What a relief. Samson and Siswi can be released. Biruté remembers her first years at Camp Leakey. The luxuriant vegetation covered the river Sekunia, and she had to hack her way through with a machete. Sometimes it took several days to reach the camp. Nowadays, the increase in river traffic due to tourism and the gold mining operations mean that the banks are trimmed. One of the last refuges of the Borneo orangutans can now be reached by boat in 5 hours. Night falls on Camp Leakey. The journey has been long and tiring. Biruté will not release Samson and Siswi this evening. They will leave their cage tomorrow morning once they've become accustomed to the local smells and sounds. As dawn breaks, Siswi and Samson start to get impatient.
Samson, it's okay.
The primatology students who live in Camp Leakey greet the newcomers.
Good morning. Good morning. So we are going to release Samson and Siswi now. They were relatively quiet during the night.
Although he has never left his mother before, Samson is a little reluctant to enter the thick foliage around Camp Leakey forest. But the two small orangutans are not abandoned to their fate. A Dayak assistant will follow them both for 1 year to see how they cope with the tropical forest. It is essential to observe their behavior while they are refinding their freedom.
My gut feeling is that Siswi will just fit into her old slot.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah, because she hasn't changed that much.
And when you release a new orangutan, are they automatically the lowest ranking?
Not necessarily.
No.
Depends on the orangutan.
Of the 3 great ape species, what makes orangutans different than other great apes, than chimps or gorillas?
With orangutans, there's a 2.5% difference between us and them, but with chimpanzees in particular, there's only 1.5% difference. It's the 1% difference. With gorillas, there's a little bit more difference. Scientists used to debate whether chimpanzees or gorillas were closer, but the argument has been decided in favor of chimpanzees. We could receive a blood transfusion from them once you compensate for blood groups, blood types. So if you have the same blood type, a chimpanzee can receive a blood transfusion from a human. And there are a few people on this planet who do have chimpanzee blood in their veins, who have received transfusions from chimpanzees. If we received blood from an orangutan, we would die. And the interesting thing is that if a gorilla received a blood transfusion from a chimpanzee, that gorilla would die. So this is our siblings. Chimpanzees are our sibling species. These guys are almost as close.
I'll just take an orange instead.
They're also coffee drinkers.
Open a Starbucks here. They go crazy.
Mother gave him some. Over the past 31 years, we have released over 200 orangutans. I am proud of my work. I am proud of the fact that I have persevered and that I have endured. And I'm also extremely proud of my Indonesian students and my Indonesian colleagues who work with me. And I don't think people in the West understand how much of the work, especially protecting the orangutans, has been done by the Indonesians. They're the ones who carry on the work now. Without them, it would be impossible for me to do what I do, and that is protect this vast area of forest in the northern part of Tanjung Puting National Park.
They have witnessed human madness to kill for gain with no regret. And now their quest is to fight for wildlife, to save all species we may forget. Heroes of nature, heroes of nature, heroes of nature. Save them all. In every corner of the world, they hear the